The topic for today is on Surat Al Duhah and on getting your questions answered. What I wanted to do is briefly discuss some reflections about the surah, and I was really looking forward to mostly answering your questions. So I've often read the surah and reflected on the fact that it almost like encapsulates, gives a recipe for what to do, how to approach a situation where you feel down, where you feel like you're in a rut, when you feel that you're not sure you're standing with Allah, where you're going through a hard time and you might feel like perhaps it's a sign of Allah's anger. And this surah approaches the Prophet ﷺ at a time when this is exactly what was happening. It came at a time when the Prophet ﷺ had not received revelation for several months. And he was very concerned, he was very worried that that meant that he had done something wrong, that Allah was angry with him. And so it begins by reassuring the Prophet ﷺ. It begins by telling the Prophet ﷺ that Allah is not angry with him, nor has he abandoned him. And it's interesting that before this reassurance is given, Allah draws our attention to two times of the day. Two times of the day that we witness every single day of our lives. Ad-duha wal-layli idha saja. Ad-duha is a time in the morning after the sun has risen but before it got hot. It's the time of that beautiful white light of morning. A time that symbolizes hope, that brings about this emotion that a new day has come and a new possibility is upon us. So he is, in this beautiful way, reminded to look at these signs that we all see every single day but aren't reflecting on, to remind us that there is hope. And then he talks about the other time of the day, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى, the time of the evening when the day has passed, but it hasn't gotten very dark and cold yet. It's a time of rest. So in every single day of our life, Allah gives us hope and he gives us a time of rest. So just to set the stage for this message of hope. And then the Prophet ﷺ is told directly, you are not abandoned, nor is Allah angry with you. And it's very important that we take this message to heart, that hardships in our lives, so often the first thing that comes to mind is that we are being punished, rather than that we are being purified. That not only purified, but we are being protected. And then finally, we are being prepared. And the surah actually goes through these stages. It next reminds the Prophet ﷺ of the favors that have already happened to him, reminding him of when Allah was there for him, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his call, saved him from other hardships, when he was an orphan, when he was poor, when he was asking for guidance and it was answered. When we are in these moments of hardships, when we feel like we're alone, this well of wisdom that we have in the Quran reminds us to think back of times before when things were hard and Allah helped us. To not completely focus in and isolate that moment as the only moment that's ever existed. To remember other times when things looked impossible and yet Allah provided an opening. And in remembering that, we can think of how we can get out of the current situation. And it's so interesting because in the field of counseling, one of the things that a counselor will do to encourage someone to see beyond the moment of distress that they are in is to force them to remember back a time when they have had a hardship and they've gotten over it. In fact, that's how people build resilience, is by overcoming challenges. And once they've overcome a challenge, they can, in a new challenge, remember that and draw on that for strength. And that's exactly what the surah is engendering in us. A process whereby we remember where Allah has saved us before. And then after he is reminded of where he's been saved, he is then told to reach out and help those that are in a situation that he used to be in. If you notice in Surat Al Duhah, the Prophet ﷺ is told to reach out and help orphans, the exact same place he used to be in, and is reminded that he was saved from. To not reject someone who is asking for help. The best way to pull yourself out of a moment of distress is to refocus your attention on helping someone else, on getting out of your own mind, your own head, your own hyper concentration on what you are going through, and to reach out and help someone else who was in the exact same distress that you used to be in. Because that does two things. That reminds you that perhaps someone's even worse off than you are, but it also reminds you that you were saved. And now it's on you to save others, to reach out to others. It's very interesting in the field of positive psychology, which is essentially not the study of mental illness, but the study of thriving, well-being, happiness, and resilience. They found something, they discovered something very interesting, in my opinion, in light of Islam and the teachings of our faith. That only two things will increase your happiness permanently. If you get a new car or a new job, your happiness will be increased temporarily, and then it'll go back to its benchmark. That's how happiness works usually when it comes to accumulating things. It's very temporary. The only things that make your happiness increase permanently is service and gratitude. And you see what this ayah, the surah teaches. It reminds the Prophet ﷺ of what he has been through and all the ways that Allah has helped him, gratitude, and then tells him to serve. And then tells him to serve. Service and gratitude. That is how we increase our happiness. That is how we get out of a rut. And then the surah ends, it closes with this beautiful injunction to spread what he has seen. وَبِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. And with the bounties of your Lord, speak. Tell others. When something good has happened to you, I'm not talking about, you suddenly got a big raise. I don't know that you should necessarily spread that around. All right? But something where Allah has saved you, has opened for you a door that you never expected, has relieved a hardship from you. Tell others about that. Because we talk about our problems to our close friends and our family. But we all believe in a Lord we can't see. And people benefit by learning and hearing about his nature, his beautiful nature, the ways that he saves us and performs miracles for us every single day. So share those experiences with others. and inspire someone, deepen someone's faith, give someone hope. So look at how this beautiful surah is structured. It starts with times of the day that we see every single day that remind us of hope and of relief. It then reminds us of where we've been helped before. It then tells us to serve others who are in the same situation that we used to be in. And then it reminds us to spread that word, spread that inspiration to others. So in closing, I want to summarize this way. Your hardships, according to the message of this surah, are not punishments. They are purifications. They are protections from something that could have been worse. And they are preparation for you to help someone else that will be in that same situation in the future. Jazakallahu khairan.